Climbing chalk gets on everything. You have to brush it off of the climbing holds before you can hope to use it as a grip to get up the route. So what is it and why do climbers use it? Hi, I'm Sarah from SendEdition.com. If you're climbing between a V0 and V5, you may have noticed there's a steep learning curve when it comes to technique, training, and gear. I've been going through that same learning curve for a while now, and I want to help you where I can. Go ahead and press subscribe so you can learn from my mistakes and climb better without all the stumbling. Climbing chalk is magnesium carbonate, which is a tool that climbers use to dry out their hands so they don't slip off of climbing holds. It's also been reportedly used for climbers who are concerned about tears or flappers. Because it dries out your skin is less pliable and it's less likely to bunch up and get caught on a climbing hold. So if you use the right amount of climbing chalk, you don't have to worry about those flappers that you've probably already gotten. What does the science say? First off, before we get into what every climber in your gym says, let's look at what published peer-reviewed studies have suggested. Some of these studies have suggested that it's actually best to minimize the friction you use on your hands. For example, this study published in 2001. Whereas many other studies suggest that climbers who use chalk are able to hold on to holds longer, and because of that, they're able to give their body the rest they need, and they're able to climb with that endurance needed. Now, I decided to take this to the test on my own, and I climbed without chalk for the first half of my climbing session, and it was horrible. First off, I already knew that I need climbing chalk because I have sweaty, oily hands when I exercise. If you have sweaty, oily hands, then climbing chalk is going to be great for you. However, if you don't, then you might not want to spend your money on climbing chalk. And I was actually surprised how many climbers don't use climbing chalk. If you're curious about climbing without chalk, go ahead and Google climbing without chalk, SendEdition, and that article is going to walk you through everything you need to know about whether or not you need chalk, as well as go through the studies I mentioned about the use of chalk and how it affects climbers. The biggest thing that I noticed with climbing without chalk is that I had to really rely on my feet, which might be to say that I could use this as a technique to learn footwork a little bit better, but I'd rather some other venues for doing so. In this case, when I was climbing without chalk, it made my grip really slippery and I wasn't able to depend on my hands like I usually do. A way that you can see if you need climbing chalk is first on, apply some chalk to your hands and then do a route. If you get off the route and you see that some of your skin is exposed and no longer has that climbing chalk on, that means that sweat or oil has removed the chalk from that part of your fingers. As you can see, my fingertips are all quite bare, meaning that I could benefit from the use of more chalk. If you climb and this isn't the case for you, then you may not need chalk because your hands may not sweat or get oily while you're climbing. The chalk I used to use was the Black Diamond Black Gold chalk, which is fantastic chalk if you're into chunky and fine. It's a nice combination. There's a couple of chunks, but there's also a lot of fine chalk in there. Lately though, I have been loving the Friction Labs Unicorn Dust. It's their ultra fine chalk and I like how it's so fine, it feels like you're petting a unicorn. At least that's probably what petting a unicorn feels like. And because it's so fine, it gets in between all the crevices on your fingers and I love that. A downside to this though, and if you look at any reviews, you'll see because it's a powder, it poofs in the air a lot easier and you're likely to go through chalk a lot faster than if you were using chunky chalk or even a chalk block. I've also used liquid chalk in the past, and honestly, if you have the patience for the chalk drying, it is a fantastic option. I've been testing a couple of different brands and my favorite thus far is the Friction Labs. It's non-alcoholic, so it doesn't dry out your hands long term. I also ran into a couple of climbers today that use liquid chalk and they live by it. They say it's amazing. The only thing you have to look out for is if your hands are really dry and you use this. If it's alcohol based, it may actually split your skin if your skin's already a little bit dry. So when you are testing out liquid chalk, be sure to check for that as well. Thanks so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please subscribe and comment below what did you like about the video. That way I can cater more videos to you. Thanks again for watching and enjoy your send.